Every photographer's probably seen the detail panel and looked at sharpening of an image. Now I'm going to zoom in here so we can kind of see what's happening. We've got 4 different parts here: amount, radius, detail, and masking. We're going to learn what each of those do today, so we're not just cranking the amount slider hoping to sharpen up our image. There's actually some things that we want to do. Firstly, I'm going to go with the amount. It's just exactly what it says, how much sharpening we're adding in, and you can see what's happening to our image. Let's jump down to masking. If I hold Option, this is going to show us where masking is applied. So as I increase it, it only gets applied to really hard edges and not really on the skin. So you can see here how around the eye, it's not being applied, but as I bring it down, it is being applied. Now let's take off Option. You can see how there's sharpening and there's no sharpening. You got 2 other things, radius and detail. Radius is how much contrast is applied around all of the edges that Lightroom is identifying, and how wide to add the contrast in. So as I increase radius, you can see here around his hat, if I crank up the slider and let's just move down the masking, you can see how like that black line is going out wider. That radius is getting larger. And then detail, that chooses what types of edges get sharpened. So if the detail is really low, only hard edges like this are going to get sharpened. However, this little bit of a gray line here, this little bit of a white spot on his head, that's going to get identified as we increase detail. So as I increase detail, even the skin gets sharpened. Now masking and detail need to work hand in hand, because masking now selects which portion of those edges. So even with detail really high, we can increase that. And I really don't like how this looks. However, you can see that there's portions of his skin here that aren't getting touched because of our masking, but our detail is really emphasizing the parts that are getting masked because it's looking at all the fine little edges there. So if you're using a lot of masking, you probably don't want too much detail, just a little bit. Radius, just a little bit more, and then sharpening, I'd probably leave that around here for this image. Then before and after, very, very subtle, but it's just what we need for an image like this. We don't want to go overboard and really crank it over the top in our sharpening. It may be your style, but for me, it's not. I like using what my camera gives me.